Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about some of the best class changes coming in WOTLK Classic. What I've done is I have done one change for every single class. Many people regard classes in WOTLK as being in their final form. They are finally complete, and then every expansion after that started to prune them down. I definitely agree with that statement. There are many improvements that just made the classes actually make sense, and the irritating limitations of your class from TBCR Classic are largely removed. The day of one-button boring rotations is definitely over, apart from maybe when you're playing an arcane mage. Rotations are expanded and improved to make the classes much more fun and interesting to play. Please do me an absolute solid guys and like and subscribe to the channel. You may think you're already subscribed to the channel because my videos always appear on your feed, but if you actually look down below, you're probably not. And if you're looking for the best leveling and gold making guides, you want to check out the guys over at Rusted XP. You'll find all the information to that in the description down below. But anyway, let's jump in. First of all, let's start with the Warlock. Now, one of the things I really don't like about pre-WOTLK Warlock is how the meta is to sacrifice your pet. It kind of ruins the class fantasy a bit. Warlocks are supposed to be a class able to summon demonic minions from the Twisting Nether to bind them to their will. But pre-Wrath, unless you're doing PvP, you just always have your pet sacrificed. You never even get to see your pet. This totally changes in Wrath. Demonic sacrifice has actually been totally removed, and for every spec it's always the meta to keep your pet out, and you also actually have some decent options. Affliction normally go for the Fell Hunter, Demonology obviously always goes to the Fell Guard, and then Imp for destruction spec. So you do finally become a proper pet class. Also, one thing to add is avoidance stat has been buffed for all pets, including hunter pets, so they are much easier to keep alive in a raiding environment. Warrior now, they can finally charge in combat with certain talents. I always found it dumb how you couldn't charge in combat and had to use a rage consuming ability like intercept to get to your target. It meant that in rage you normally have to just run to the boss. I mean, what's the fun in running to the boss? The whole point of playing a warrior so that you can use your charge ability. It just didn't feel as cool, and in PvP you had to rely on using blood rage in order to get a little rage before you can intercept if you had no rage to begin with. Being able to charge was just the proper way to do it. This is made possible by the Warbringer talent in the protection tree that also allows you to use intercept in combat, and Juggernaut in the arms tree, but it increases its cooldown by 5 seconds, however increases the crit chance of your next slam or mortal strike by 25% to make up for it. Now the Hunter got an abundance of crazy changes when it comes to pets. They are just so much better now. The first change is whenever you tame a pet, the pet's level will catch up to your level. The minimum will be 5 levels below you, so you can easily get pets caught up to your level. This means you can choose the looks of certain pets that you want, for instance like low level rare mobs. Classic example would be the Black Lion that you can get in the Barrens, without the hassle of taking it ages to level it up. Not to mention how pets also always have a focus dump ability now, and cool new talent trees. The only downside is I feel like they removed a lot of the immersion features for hunters like pet training, but overall there are many new pet changes that make it much more streamlined and less time wasting. I am so kind of envious of mages because of those dirty, cheeky, hot streak procs in the fire tree. Now, let's be real, as much as Pyroblast is cool, since it does so much damage and it's on a long cast time, it's basically pointless before WOTLK because you have to use it with presence of mind for it to even be worth it. In WOTLK, if you get 2 crits in a row with non-parodic damage, it also includes your living bomb explosion, the hot streak proc will occur, which causes your Pyroblast to be a total instant cast, and it's just one of the most satisfying procs in the game. Definitely makes the fire mage rotation a little more interesting than just spamming fireball anyway. You actually have to use more than one spell. You also get Living Bomb, which is essentially a dot that you have to maintain that causes AoE damage when it falls off. Many rogues would be happy to hear that a lot of their big cooldown abilities have had their cooldown reduced, so Evasion, Adrenaline Rush and Sprint have been taken down from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, and then Premonition been taken all the way down to 20 seconds. Also, you have much more consistent spammable AoE with the ability Fan of Knives, so you no longer have to rely on long cooldowns like Blade Flurry in order to do good cleave DPS. Priests now actually get an AoE ability called Mindseer, so you no longer have to feel like a floppy wet noodle when taking down trash mobs in raids or on AoE fights. And the Vampiric Touch now benefits from haste, so they scale much better later into the expansion when they get better gear, unlike TBC Classic. Raid leaders are going to have a much easier time in Wrath of the Lich King setting up perfect comps. Main reason for that is Bloodlust is now raid wide, you no longer have to stack 5 shamans. Also, many shaman totems are also raid wide too. So normally you only need like 2 shamans, maybe 3 shamans in the entire raid. I guess it means shamans will be in slightly less demand, but I think raid leaders would definitely be happier without the pressure of having to find 5 shamans in order to make an optimal setup. And casters who are not in that Warlock Elemental Shaman group no longer have to, well, moan or really complain about it, because as long as there's one Elemental Shaman in the raid, Bob's your uncle. Everyone has that Totem of Wrath buff. Paladin finally now get some actual proper AoE and cleave damage. It is improved dramatically in Wrath of the Lich King. Consecration is no longer the only AoE ability that you get. You get the ability Seal of Command, which cleaves your judgment and single target abilities, and obviously they have the glorious Divine Storm ability. They have some of the best cleave DPS in the game, arguably, and even in the early tiers before they get good gear, their cleave is just absolutely mental. And it's what you might call natural cleave, which means they can continue to pump on single target DPS on a boss while also cleaving. They just have to change their seal to Seal of Command from Seal of Vengeance. And lastly, we have the Druid. So first of all, the days of power shifting are finally over. It's no longer a DPS increase, more of just a nice thing for you to have from time to time in PvP for the Feral Druid. Balanced Druid also get drastic improvements to their AoE DPS. They now have a Starfall cooldown at the end of the balance tree that is utterly lethal and requires literally no effort for you to really use very well, because you pop it and it just automatically storms every enemy nearby. And the Hurricane cooldown has been totally taken away, so you can do more consistent AoE damage with that ability. And there you have it guys, the 10 best class changes coming in Classic Wrath. If you haven't already guys, please consider checking out my second channel, throw me a quick cheeky sub. Gonna have some cool videos going out there very soon, like a Fable 2 retrospective and the evolution of Lord of the Rings games, Harry Potter games, and any other game franchises out there. So yeah, the channel is called NightGoblin. You'll find a link to that in the description as always. My name is MetaGoblin. To my next video. Ciao.